We were motivated to do the Signmedia project because a research study from the University of Wolverhampton showed that a lot of deaf graduates were moving into media, and it's something we've been aware of for quite a long time. You see more of a presence on television and film. There are deaf film festivals all over the world at the moment with lots of filmmakers, emerging filmmakers who are getting a lot of success. But what we did notice was that within media, the main form of communication is still written English. And so this can prove to be a real barrier for sign language users. So you're looking at a really complicated technical language in production documentation and on even the instructions on hardware and software and descriptors on technical equipment. And so what we needed was an online resource which would teach written English to deaf media professionals using sign language, and that's where it all started from. And from then we've noticed all other different types of benefits and different types of users, but that was the core of it. In terms of how the project was developed, it had lots of different factors. There's the development stages in terms of we ran certain pilots and had certain testing in the UK first, and then we fed that out to Austria and Italy, and they repeated the process. So we were constantly implementing changes as a result of user feedback. But a key development stage at the start was just getting the concept for the whole production, and part of that was deciding to create a world. So rather than have a traditional learning online environment, which has often quite negative associations for a lot of deaf people who've had difficult educational experiences, we wanted to set it in a place that was really relevant to them and their workplace. So we created the World of Sunrise Media Productions, which was a busy production office where you meet characters, and all the tasks are related to authentic media documents, which complement this world because they're all about a particular soap opera, and there's gameplay and scoring systems to really motivate and engage the learner. Signmedia is primarily designed as a vocational tool, so it's aimed at adult learners who are already in the workplace, or perhaps media students, deaf media students who want to break into that industry. It's designed for informal, flexible learning, so we've tried to design it with as much user choice as possible once they go into the learning resource. So depending on what they're doing that day, if they have a compliance form that they're just seeing for the first time and they want to look at the way that language is used within that form, they could perhaps select that part of the learning resource. Or maybe if they're doing something completely different and want to brush up a particular grammar feature, they can go in and use it that way. So it's designed to be used either in the workplace or at home. With the Signmedia project, we were lucky enough to have experts from many different fields in linguistics. We had teachers of the deaf involved in the different partner countries. It was a collaborative project between Italy, Austria and the UK. We also involved deaf-led media companies. So for the filming and the kind of character, the presenters and things like that, we would use the deaf-led media production companies and the directors within those companies. We recruited actors, deaf actors, fluent sign language users, some of them new to presenting, some of them have been presenting for many years on mainstream television. Each team had hearing input from deaf and hearing colleagues there as well. In terms of the specialist skills for the filming, we had Louis Neathling, who is head of a deaf-led media production company who has been filmmaking for many, many years. So it was great to have him on board. And one of the wonderful things about the collaboration is that it enabled him to go and oversee quality in the other countries and really coach the teams in Italy and Austria in maybe some things that they weren't quite so familiar with, for example, chroma key, or the use of studio space and specific requirements. So that was a nice element of the collaboration there. The interactive design company, Bellyfeel in Manchester, UK. That's what they do. They create interactive design and specialise in e-learning as well. We used industry standard equipment in terms of cameras and chroma key and editing software. The site is actually a flash site. That decision was made a couple of years ago at the start of the project, and because we had very specific needs and we need to create this immersive, rich environment to a certain budget, then that's what we had to use and why we used it. So it offered us great functionality and embedded the videos, because there's so much video content in there. It embedded the video as well.
Pickup. On the call sheet, this is the time an actor will be collected from their home to be taken to location. Unit call. This is the time at which the group of technicians should arrive on set.
We had funding from the Leonardo da Vinci and support from them, the Development of Innovation, and there was also match funding from the various universities and partners involved in the project. The actual tool itself, the learning resource itself, cost around £50,000 to develop and create. The project overall has been within a 2-year time frame. Of course, it's based on a lot of research that's been going on for many years before then, but the project from start to finish is 2 years. We'll be absolutely tying up all the loose ends by December or January time this year, but the actual tool is online now and ready to use. I had many positive experiences and many positive discoveries throughout the project, but when you're working with a group as diverse as elements of the deaf community, then there are always going to be some challenges. So how do you meet the needs of this community who have such diverse educational experience, such diverse levels of language themselves? You can't just label it intermediate, because some came to sign language later in life, some of them have deaf parents, some of them have hearing parents, so it's very difficult to create something to meet the needs of your users. So there's always a slight feeling of, are we creating what that group needs? And I think that's something that we'll find out, we'll learn about over time, really. Of course, we were working with 6 different languages as well. We had 3 spoken languages and 3 different signed languages. So in terms of the translation issues, especially for our partners, because they were receiving a lot of our information in English as part of the documentation, the scripts, and they had to go through incredibly complex procedures of translating into their own native language, then translating into sign language and really breaking that down. So that was a challenge. In terms of how we'd like to move forward with this project, we would certainly like to transfer and translate to other platforms. It's something that's coming from the deaf community themselves. They're saying, we're using this. We want to be able to use this tool, the glossary, for example, on location. So we will be looking to apply for further funding, get more partners involved, and make those changes. We do as well want to expand it to other countries. So we've got some partners in the pipeline, and hopefully they'll be able to develop the tool as well. If I was going to advise somebody who was thinking of entering a project into the MEDEA Awards, I first of all would say set aside quite a lot of time for the entry form. But I actually think the questions on the application are questions you should be considering right at the start of a project. It's about getting the pedagogical justification for it, because if you don't have that, then the project, it can be overtaken by looking like this, or having this exciting new way of incorporating this element of media. But it needs to be sound in terms of its educational philosophy, and that's got to be at the heart of it. Really consider your target user as well. Sometimes easier said than done, as they're often for quite diverse communities. and look around at the added benefits to it as well. Often you find those in the course of a project, but sometimes you can start to predict those at the very start as well.